Hi, it's Mel again with How We Homeschool, and I wanted to do a series of probably 5 or 6 videos for you guys because it seems as though everybody who's first starting out, one of the chief complaints that we come across is that there are too many options to choose from in terms of like what curriculum should I go for. So this series is going to focus primarily on homeschooling styles. I generally break it down into like 5 or 6 main styles that you can choose from, and I think we're going to do one video for each, and it's going to be just focusing on the main differences between the different homeschooling styles. What are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and I'm hoping that that can sort of help you narrow your focus in terms of figuring out like what exactly you want to do for your homeschool. That being said, style number 1 I would say is classical curriculum. Classical curriculum is one of the most popular styles of homeschooling. This is pretty academically rigorous. There's a very, very strong emphasis on reading. So this framework tends to revolve around what we call the trivium, or the 3 main subjects, which are grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And there's also a large focus on what we call the great works of literature. Okay, so you are breaking things down according to looking at the best that each period in history has to offer, the best literature, the most complete history, the best inventors, artists, that kind of stuff. And you really want to gear your children up for looking at the best and sort of standing on the shoulders of giants in those terms, but also equipping them with grammar, logic, and rhetoric so that they can have that really solid foundation. It can be really helpful in states with greater oversight in their homeschooling laws. This sort of learning generally incorporates all of the mandatory subjects as well as any additional ones that you want to add. Most boxed curricula that you would find for classical curriculum are organized in a way that like recording and reporting your child's work and grades is fairly straightforward, and classical curriculum as an added bonus is one of the most popular styles, so finding like-minded groups or co-ops or even just families that you can get together with is usually easier. Downsides are it's fairly reading heavy, as I said before, so it can be adapted to slow readers or children with dyslexia or other learning disabilities. It's not that you can't do that, but when you have that much reading incorporated, it's kind of hard to parse out your time. The rigor and the structure can also be really frustrating if it's not paced correctly. So sometimes it can be off-putting when the student or the teacher wants to kind of take time out from the curriculum to do like a little side trip of their own learning. If it's not paced correctly, again, it's easy to reach burnout before the end of the school year is over. So you have to just be aware of where your strengths and weaknesses are and be ready to like adapt and change it as you go in case it's not a great fit for you. Also, while homeschooling is usually less expensive than traditional school, this classical curriculum specifically is one of the more expensive methods because people tend to choose to purchase all of their materials from like a boxed curriculum, or build your own from scratch by picking and choosing from different boxed curricula. So that can just be an added expense. There's an additional downside built into that when it is an expensive curriculum, and that is if you've already purchased something expensive to use with your children, it can be super frustrating to find out after the fact that this curriculum is maybe not a great fit for you. It doesn't work as well for your child as you thought it would. Don't let that stop you from switching things up. It can be a downside because you feel like you're sort of locked in. Don't feel like you have to follow this exact thing to a T. That's part of the beauty of homeschooling in the first place, is that you specifically are not just locked into something that isn't working, but you should be aware of that.